Kill It, your host. Super Show is the show we do before the show on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific. It's 2 p.m. Pacific now. At 3 p.m. Pacific, we will go live with the regular show. With us, Edgar Lueno.
Luano.
Welcome, Edgar.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And Emily, for a short time remaining, Torres.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
You need to clarify what that means, because he's like, you're either quitting, you're fired, or your last name is changing. One
Or
or
I'm
the other.
dying or something.
She's only got a few more days left as Torres. And then her last name will be Chanel. You have to give them. I don't know. I don't know what it'll be. Hey, I'm going to read you guys something. First of all, National Catholic Reporter. It's still alive. And let me give you the first paragraph. The Vatican's doctrine chief warned that blogs and online commentators increasingly claim a theological authority they do not possess, narrowing the church's ability to holistically engage faith and reality. First of all, my favorite phrase of the week: holistically engage faith and reality. That's not from the Vatican wording. That's from National Catholic Reporter. First of all, holistically engage is just beautiful. But the fact that they made a distinction between faith and reality is priceless. That is that the ultimate National Catholic Reporter writing, or what? I want to engage both faith and reality. All right. So what's happening is the head of the dicastery for the doctrine of the faith, Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, said there's enough with this, all this blogging. And Edgar, you were saying before, you could tell it's a Vatican statement because he used the word blog. Nobody blogs anymore.
No, nobody uses the word blog anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So this is what he said. But the issue is even more serious, since today on any blog, anyone, even without having studied much theology, can express his or her opinion and condemn others as if speaking ex cathedra, or with infallibility, he said. So I just wanted to see what you all thought of that. First of all, he didn't name anybody, but can you name the people he's?
Oh yeah, I got a long list of them, laundry list.
From Catholic Answers.
I think it's Emily, formerly Torres. First of all, I would like to say that I'm going to make the point that I think Fernandez is wrong, but not for the reason you think. I'm not criticizing him. I just think he's making a strategic error here, and. But I will also point out the National Catholic Reporter chose that as the lead, and nobody else who reported this reported that as the lead, at least that I could find. So you have to decide for yourself. Vatican News said that basically Fernandez called for intellectual humility, and it didn't even mention the blogging part in its entire report. OSV News, which is pretty good, OSV News, the prefect for the dicastery of the doctrine of the faith opened the dicastery's plenary session with a strong call for humility in thought, theology, and online discourse. So that put it into a less dramatic thing. But I do think there's a kind of, it seems to me that National Catholic Reporter would fall into a general group of outlets and in some cases officials of the church who seem to be perpetuating the idea that more conservative-leaning Catholics in the United States are ruining the church with all their blogging and media and that kind of thing. Even EWTN, some have come out pretty strongly against EWTN. So I think if I analyze this from the perspective of a media critique, I would say, the reason National Catholic Reporter elevated this to the lead is that their bias is all this Catholic blogging is bad because it was mean to Pope Francis.
Yep. I mean,
Yep. Edgar comes in with yup.
This is me pontificating right now, right? So I Edgar Lujano, officially declare that, okay, so there's a couple of different ways you can take this, right? I'm gonna go based off of what he actually said. So I'm gonna ignore.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy talk.
I'm gonna ignore
Listen to what a
everything you
person
said.
actually said.
I'm gonna ignore what you just said, and I'm gonna go based off of this headline. I agree that there are people online that need to stop
Oh, me too.
claiming
Oh, yes.
theological authority. I'm not gonna name a name, but there's a person who, when the Pope was elected,
I'm gonna name the name. I'm gonna name the name. I know who he's talking
but
about.
but came out and
Declared.
humbly declared or humbly submitted himself. I humbly submit to Pope Leo, and it's like, first of all,
everybody's gonna know who you're talking
okay,
about.
well, I'm not going to mention
No, don't
names
say
though.
it.
I'm not
Okay,
going to
right,
mention names.
right.
But it was kind of like you're coming out and saying like, I'm this important to where I am letting my followers know that I will submit to this guy, and if I didn't, then you guys should also continue to listen to me whether I didn't and back me up. And it was funny because I started reading some of the comments initially, and it was, how humble of him to say that. And what a beautiful,
How humble of him to do what every Catholic is required
exactly.
by faith to do.
Yeah, it's so it's things like that when I saw this headline, it's like, okay, I understand the sentiment for this, and it's coming from a world of commentary.
Am I getting your point then that almost seems like the Pope is the official Pope when I, an internet podcaster, submit to him? That's when
Yes.
you'll know that the Pope is really the Pope.
That's
But
what it felt like.
It's,
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it felt like.
And but every time you get online, that somebody's actually pontificating about something, and it's like the Pope is doing something wrong, the Vatican is doing something wrong. It's I think you put it really well. It's like we need to stop constantly criticizing what's coming out of the papacy and just like you're Catholic. I mean, if you want to break off and build your own church, I mean,
Have fun.
Spiritually detrimental, but have fun. I mean, you can do it. Go ahead. It's been done before, you know.
Right. Yeah. Also, there's a good Catholic tradition of just ignoring the Pope. And I don't mean that in a mean way. Like most of what the Pope says, the centuries work it all out. You just go on with your life. You got a mission in this world. God gave you a mission. Why are you getting upset all the time? All the time. And why are you upsetting everybody else?
It's
all the
hard.
time?
It's not hard. It's hard not to pay attention nowadays because we are living in the age of information where information is everything and information is current. It's even currency nowadays. Like that's one of the reasons why you have companies who create cheap products. I won't name the website, but just in order to get free or just in order to get your information, they'll create cheap products to scam you into buying something, and now they have all your information, or downloading an app, and now they have all your information. So in an age of information, it's hard not to be constantly bombarded by all this and know exactly what's coming out of the Vatican. The whole idea that you can find out that a pope has passed away within a matter of minutes after it's happened.
Right. Probably before he knows.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. I don't actually know how that works, but
But that's incredible compared to what, even 100 years ago, where it would have taken days, weeks, maybe months. I don't know, 100 years ago. What's the information like back in the day?
Right. Yeah, but certainly when in the age of exploration, it would have taken months before people knew.
And some people wouldn't have found out that their pope died until 2 or 3 popes later, depending on what part of the world you were in, right?
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you're like, well, who's actually? There is not a famous, but a somewhat well-known letter from Father Junipero Serra, who was the great evangelist of California. And in one of his letters back to his superiors in Mexico, he asked, who is the Pope? And he's out here like being a saint, doing his thing. He doesn't know who the Pope is. You don't actually need to know who the Pope is to be a faithful Catholic. Emily, I feel like we're jabbering on and not allowing you in here.
No, you're fine. I was going to point out the same thing that you just did, which is it's ironic if people are putting random TikTokers or YouTubers as their Pope when I think the bigger problem in the church is that people don't even take the Pope seriously or the church's authoritative teaching seriously.
That's a good point. Yeah, right. That's right. But I think at one time you would have said that's cafeteria Catholicism, but we don't use the word cafeteria Catholicism anymore because everybody just does that. It's just individualism. Yeah, I listen to the Pope when he says what I want him to say.
Yeah.
when he does what I want him to do. I'm totally down with the Pope when he's.
Or they're just ignorant of the church's teachings about having to hold the dogmatic, authority and teaching in the first place. So they just kind of neglect it because they like unknowingly. And so I feel like that's more of a problem than like, oh my gosh, I saw some random person and they condemned me online because I use Apple and apparently Apple is demonic. So like I just feel like
Oh,
that's less of a problem or something.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I want to get to why I think Fernandez is wrong. Well, I don't think he's wrong to say that we should stop with all the. I'm trying not to use the word pontificate because it's such a elevated word, but stop with all the a super opinionated. The church must agree with me on whatever it is.
I would say pontificating is the word to use.
All right, all right.
I don't know. What do you think?
I have your permission. The pontiff of this
I
show.
like it.
I don't think he's wrong about that. I kind of think he's wrong in his approach, and that is, it's never going to stop. It's literally never going to stop until the Lord Himself comes. So what are you doing? It's like saying, you know what, people should, stop. I don't know, being distracted while they're driving. Yeah, okay. But it's not going to stop. Actually, you should tell people to stop. That was a bad example. But I don't know. You're not going to get everybody to be polite. You're not going to get everybody to be sensible. You're not going to. What we need is some education on what your obligations are as a Catholic, and it would be. I think it would be more helpful to say to the person consuming this stuff, here's where you can go. Like this is problematic for you as a consumer. I just don't think you can attack this from the production side. There's always going to be. It's like atheism. There's always somebody getting rich off of atheism. I can go do a big takedown of that person and have Jimmy Akin on my show or Pat Flynn or somebody, or I can just accept there's always going to be somebody getting rich off of atheism. There's always the next, this is the big atheism book that somebody makes their millions on. Or, there's some kid on the internet. Oh, to me, he's a kid, but that's like the big atheism guy now. I don't know.
Alex O'Connor.
Yeah, Alex O'Connor. Okay, so he's the big atheism guy. What do I care? There will always be. Oh, do we have to take a break? Why are you saying they're giving me the break signal?
Why are we doing a break? This is not the live radio show, Bender. Come on, what are we doing here?
It's all right. There's something went wrong in there. We're probably not even on the air now. Okay, so I'll say what I really think then, because we're probably not even on the air. So I'm going to say what I really think, because I think what he said is the connection broke, and it's just the three of us talking now. So I think you have to cut to the demand side. You're not going to cut the production side. There's always another clown that'll come along in every area. There's always somebody who's going, you know what, I figured out the earth is flat. And that he's just the next flat earth guy who's going to retire on his flat earth theories. Get over it. That's the way the world works. You got to cut down on the demand side. And that's a way harder job. So I guess I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying I don't think this strategy is going to work. We're not going to stop having these internet popes, these people who assign themselves to be the internet pope. You got to teach people to stay away from them.
Do you feel like it's
give them options?
It's kind of like a slap in the hand without actually offering a kind of remedy.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit, I don't know, virtuous talk that's actually kind of pointless.
Yeah.
In a way. But I would like to say this. I read the OSV story, and I thought the OSV story made Fernandez, as much as I would bet the OSV News people are less enthusiastic about Fernandez than the National Catholic Reporter people are, just guessing. The OSV story, because it was an actual news story and not kind of a grind and axe story, made Fernandez look much better, and I liked him.
Even the headline feels a little more mellow.
Yeah. Okay. So Cardinal Fernandez warns against ex cathedra condemnations online, urges humility. Well, that's what he did essentially, and he even said it about himself. He said part of his, and I don't think this was reported on the NCR side, was that he's been in prayer. He's been realizing he has to be more humble. Well, I like a church leader that will say that first of all, I'm really glad to know that somebody in the Vatican's praying. That's always good to be reminded of that. That's good. I mean, I know the Pope is, but I wasn't sure about the rest of them. But that I thought it was a lovely thing that made him look like a decent person who's giving us decent advice, which is we're going to get ourselves into trouble if we don't have a little bit more humility. All of that said, I tend to just, his phrasing throws me off. The way that he says things throws me off. And part of it is he's saying we need to have less certainty. I don't know that there's a problem with Christian certainty. I think what we have is a problem of a lack of Christian faith. And do you know what I mean? Like some things you need to be certain of. And by failing to make that distinction, at least according to this reporting, I don't have the original text, by failing to say, look, there are some things we are absolutely certain about. God is love. Jesus Christ is God incarnate. And you could even go into the moral law. There's some things that we are just solidly certain about. And it's when we go beyond these things and express an exaggerated certainty that the Pope, he shouldn't have gone here or he shouldn't have said that. So I kind of actually am suspicious of church authorities, and I don't mean to be suspicious of them, but who tell me to stop having so much certainty about things. That is an undifferentiated statement. That is an unnuanced statement that's very dangerous.
That is a very blanket statement. I would say maybe what he's trying to get at, and this just gets into the speculation of it, is what if he's just trying to say, guys, why don't we approach this as we're all students of this? And
that is what he's saying.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah, let's not pretend that we know everything and be authorities. There was, for example, there was recently. Some people were coming after Joe Heschmeyer online and they quoted some church father. Turns out that they used AI to come up with this quote that actually didn't exist. So they kind of schooled themselves based off of what they said.
Schooled.
Yeah. So because of that, it's kind of like you presented yourself as an authority, and now you kind of look, like a buffoon in that situation.
Right.
So, and you're just undercutting all the authority of the actual church by presenting what seems to be the authority of the church. So I got together with a Catholic content creator yesterday, and she's kind of coming up in the world and coming up on the online world in the Spanish side of things. And she asked me, like, what do you think? How do you think I should approach this? Because I don't know everything. And I said, let that be your content, that you are also learning about this and you are on a journey with the people that are watching your content, because everyone else who's watching you, they're going to relate to you through that, not through, hey, I'm an authority. You're not on a stage. You're on a journey. You're on a journey with these people, walking with them as you guys are learning together while you're doing the research, you're doing the digging, and you get to present it to your friends is basically what you're doing.
Yep. And that, I have to say, that's what it seemed like Cardinal Fernandez was saying to me. Not to me, but he speaks to me personally. This was directed at me personally. To fully understand anything, we must allow ourselves to be enlightened by God. We must invoke him, pray to him, listen to him, let him guide us amid the shadows, Cardinal Fernandez said. And this was all after saying, look, it's deceptive to think that you have an exhaustive knowledge of anything. You have a partial knowledge of a few things. That's what you have. Now, I'm paraphrasing that part of it. But that saying I have a partial knowledge of a few things is not the same as saying I need to have less certainty. Those are two different things. I need to have less certainty about the things that I am not certain of. I need to be willing to just live with uncertainty. I don't know. I don't know about that. Why did God allow this or why did God allow that? I don't know. And I don't have all the answers. But about the things that I'm certain, I need deeper certainty. There's a certain humility in being certain about some things, which is to say, I'm not going to keep thinking this through over and over again. God loves me. I mean, I keep thinking about it. I don't stop thinking about it, but I'm not going to relitigate with myself whether or not God loves me. He loves me. I'm not going to relitigate with myself whether or not every single human being is a precious child of God. Like there's some things that are just plain clear, and I find it unnerving when people in high places go, let's have less clarity. That's not the problem. Too much clarity is not the problem.
I don't know about you, but I like a good fog. I don't know. What do you think, Emily?
I think she froze.
Yeah, I
kidding, Emily.
totally stop pranking me. I totally agree. I think that what the people need, especially after Pope Francis's papacy, is more clarity on issues. I do respect the church's kind of a stance on like if things have not been defined yet, like you should have peace in discerning and kind of journeying through these questions and applying them and living out your faith the best you can in your life. But I would say if I had to choose a problem to talk about, it wouldn't be that there's not enough or that there's too much certainty. That would not be the problem I would choose to talk about.
No,
So,
everybody's floating around completely disconnected from the Christian truths, and but there's too much opinion. I want to share with you at S Medrano 1964. What I am so concerned about is that both liberal and conservative Catholics mainly choose their political party above the church.
I could definitely see how that could be a problem if you do that, where your identity becomes I'm X first politically, and then I'm Catholic, or it's those the labels, right? I'm more of a progressive Catholic, or I'm more of a conservative Catholic. It's like, well, we're Catholic. That's like that in and of itself kind of discounts a lot of these titles in specific aspects. So, I see that as the problem.
And that might be part of what gives us the kind of certainty that I think Cardinal Fernandez is pushing against. That again, I'm not criticizing him for that. I find the way he speaks unnerving sometimes. There is a kind of like, I want my side to win, and the world has divided up into teams along political and ideological lines, and you just want your team to win. Well, that's not what Christianity is. Christianity is not, I just want my Christian team to win. It's not the Christians against everybody else. It's the Christians for everybody else. That's what Christianity is to be for everybody else.
See, Michael Morvan put it in an interesting way. I'm a Catholic who believes in conservative values. Is that what he says? I think that would be a better way of phrasing it than giving yourself that title.
Well, now I hate Michael Morvan because I'm a Catholic who believes in liberal values. So take that, Michael.
Mr. B says, I think Thomas Aquinas would agree with Sai about clarity. I think he would agree as well.
I don't know, but boy, but think about Thomas, how he ended his life in such unmitigated humility. I mean, after doing the greatest intellectual work probably that has ever been done, he ended as a man who was like, I just want Jesus. And
because he knew all the knowledge that he attained did not come from him. He was not the foundation of it.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. You know what? However, if the three of us were put in charge, I do think things would be better. Because I feel like just knowing the two of you as I know you, if somebody said to us, for example, explain indulgences to me.
We would.
How would we do? How would the three of us do if somebody said, explain indulgences?
I mean, if it was a basketball player, I'm not sure we would be doing so well.
How do you feel we did? How do you feel we did, Emily?
I felt like we were okay. My understanding of indulgences was definitely coming from a different place than your guys's, which I thought was funny. And I think that's probably because I'm a convert. But when I think of indulgences, I don't necessarily think of them as being inherently tied to the dead. Like, I understand that it's important to pray for the dead and to seek indulgences for the dead, but I'm mostly thinking about them for myself. Maybe that's because I'm selfish, but I think about them in terms of shortening my time in purgatory and removing my temporal punishment. That's what I think about first. And then I think about, but then I can help people who are already dead with that same sort of thing. And I felt like you guys came in, though, more with helping the dead first. So I think we gave him a pretty well-rounded opinion of it, but then I think it was almost so well-rounded that it confused him.
Our answer was so good that a normal person looked at us like, what a bunch of idiots.
All right, so
Yeah,
to
exactly.
fill
You got to tell what we're talking about.
So
now.
to fill
Say
every-
what we're talking about.
to fill everybody in, last week, Cy, myself, and Emily, and a few others, we were actually went out to can I say this, to North Carolina, and we met.
You can say North Carolina.
I can say
It's
North
okay.
Carolina.
What
Can
do
I
you
say
think?
North Carolina?
Can you say North Carolina
I'm pretty sure I
on
can
the
say North
air?
Carolina.
Yeah, that's okay, right?
So we got together with a, retired NBA player. I guess that's.
Why do you guess that?
Because I
Gordon Hayward.
Gordon Hayward. So I don't.
A wonderful, a really impressive man who
and convert to Catholicism.
has converted to Catholicism. So we went to ask him about that.
And in part to Joe's book, is it the Eucharist is really Jesus? I think that's
Yeah,
the
that
book.
was the book that convinced him, I think.
Yeah.
That put him over the top on coming into the Catholic Church.
So it was really cool not being the tallest guy in the room for a moment, you know?
Yeah, not even close, man. Not
even close.
That dude was big.
And so we were talking about humility when we were talking about Aquinas, but talk about humility when it comes to Gordon Hayward. Like I was thoroughly impressed by the person that he is and how deep he takes his faith and how his approach to people was. Because, you think of celebrities, you think of people that are, higher up on the tax bracket, and you think of,
Dude, don't even say you're on the same tax bracket. It's a completely different sheet of paper than you're on.
Yeah, that's true. And you know what they say, power and money,
Wealth and fame.
yeah, can corrupt.
Yeah.
That is the opposite of what I saw in Gordon and his wife.
Yeah.
So, which was really cool to see, and just we really connected with him on a human level. And by the way, that interview that you did with him was fantastic. So, and it was just enjoyable to be out there. And
He was very easy to talk to. It was not a difficult
Yeah.
interview. So anyway, we go to North Carolina. Emily already lives there in North Carolina. So we went to Charlotte, which is easy to get to.
I don't know if you can say that, but
You can't say
I'm
Charlotte?
just kidding.
You just doxed me on air side. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Her address is. We go there and to do this interview because we do this other thing called the Cy Kellett Show, where once every 6 to 9 months we post an interview.
To be fair, we have a bunch of them recorded.
1.23 times a year, we post a new interview, and they go for like an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half if they go really long. But they're interviews with people who are giving public witness to the Catholic faith. So it could be a nun, it could be an internet blogger who thinks he's the Pope. It could be but if they're giving public witness to the Catholic faith, we want to hear their story. And so Gordon Hayward had posted online about his coming to the Catholic Church. He had given interviews about coming to the Catholic Church, so we wanted to go speak with him. And he was so gracious to give us the time. As a matter of fact, we were hoping to get his wife Robin on the interview, but they had sick kids that day. And also, I don't think she liked us that much. I don't know, not that. I don't think she wanted to do the interview though. I'm not sure that. Did you get that sense that she didn't really? I mean, she seemed more.
She seemed a little more hesitant, but I think she would have made a great guest for the show.
She would in the conversation. She would have made a great guest.
But you have the people who just don't feel as comfortable in front of the microphone. So.
Oh no, I got more the sense that she thought she would be so comfortable in front of the microphone that she might say.
Well, I didn't want to say it, but now that you did.
So we did the interview, and then we were at this place where there's a restaurant downstairs, and Gordon said to us, "Well, do you want to have lunch?" And I was like, I thought, like, if I'm him, I'm like, see ya, I did my hour with you. I'm out. I'm a big famous basketball player. But he was like hanging with us. He was being very nice to us. So we all went downstairs and we had lunch with him. And he just was like, give me the Catholic explanation of indulgences. And man, this is what I felt as we gave our various explanations for indulgences. Because he's new to the Catholic faith, I think 16, 18 months as a Catholic.
Wait, that's it? I thought he had been Catholic for a while.
Yeah, 16 to 18
Oh
months.
my goodness.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think it might have been May of 24, something like that. So, yeah, not 2 years yet.
Wow.
Not 2 years yet. So here comes us with our explanation. And this is my experience. You guys tell me if this is not your experience. One of us would give an explanation of our understanding of indulgences. We would look into Gordon Hayward's face and we would see the Catholic faith just draining out of it. He's like, I'm going to go back to being a Protestant.
At
I
one
don't know
point-
what you people are saying.
At one point, I stopped
Yeah.
and I said, I feel like we're only making things worse for you. And he was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Emily, what's up? You're supposed
No,
to be able to
it
do
felt
this.
like it felt like every answer we gave him, it somehow confused him more. Like instead of
But
bringing clarity,
reasonably-
we were just bringing.
Like he was
I don't-
reasonably
I think-
confused because I didn't think, like, every time I gave an answer, I thought, that doesn't sound quite right. And then I'd look at it and be like, that didn't go over very well.
Well, I think for me, when it kind of clicked, all right, I think we're making some headway is when we clarified what confession was and what it did. He's like, but your sins are
Yes.
forgiven. So why do I need anything else?
Yeah, that's a
and,
good
and
question.
I think when we clarified, and Carlo, and this is what I really appreciate about Carlo, he uses the word, it restores friendship with God. So when you go to confession, you've restored friendship with God. I think when we clarified that and saying that there's still some things that need to be worked on because you still have that desire or that attachment towards sin, and then building on what indulgences are from there and kind of what they do.
Yeah.
That's when we started making a little bit of headway. But Cy and I got back to the car. We're like, well, there goes his Catholic faith.
Yeah, right. Better get this interview out because I don't think he's Catholic anymore. But now we're saying that about ourselves, not about Gordon. I mean, his faith seems very strong, as a matter of fact. It just was amazing to try to do the apologist job for a minute and be like, no, that didn't work. That didn't work. And the nice thing on the radio is if it doesn't work, you've already moved on to the next caller. You don't know.
And it's time for a break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for that call and that question about indulgences. Right back with more with Joe Heschmeyer. And so the person's like, that didn't make any sense. Literally made no sense to me, but we don't know it. But it was fun to get to go do the interview. I'm really glad that we got to do it. And I think it was really gracious of him. If you know anybody, someone giving public witness to the Catholic faith that you think would be, because we don't want the people just to be famous. We don't want to, I mean, it's nice when somebody famous will talk to you. I don't know if you know this, but I interviewed Mel Gibson once. And,
Really? Did he? I didn't know that.
Really? He doesn't talk about that every day?
Hi, Cy.
Have it-
We don't have a recording on loop here in the studio because Cy likes to hear Mel Gibson say his name.
Yeah, like we literally have a recording just of Mel Gibson saying, hi, Cy. Mel Gibson's a very nice person, by the way, despite what you've heard. My experience.
I have heard. I have heard things because I didn't grow up in the Mel Gibson era. So then I asked my dad about him, and my dad's not Catholic, so my dad was able to give me the spiel from that angle, and I don't know.
My wife and I, we started watching Father Stu a couple of days ago, and she's like, my goodness, what is up with the language? And not so many words, but kind of she was shocked by how. But in my head, I'm looking
Father
at
Stu?
Father Stu, and in my head, I saw
Who
Mel.
said this? What's up with the language?
Lena. I told her.
She did?
Well, because I told her,
She's such
I prepared her. I said, just letting you know. I think I prepared her. I don't know, but it was a bit shocking. But when I see Mel Gibson on there and he's like foul mouthed and everything, I'm like, yeah, that kind of tracks. It's just like
Well,
to like
I
the
thought-
persona that I think.
When I saw Father Stu, I thought they had like the foul language is part of the. Did you ever see Father Stu, by the way? Did you?
Yeah.
I was not offended at all by the foul language. And partly because I'm a very low class person. Everybody knows that about me. I am not a high class person. My favorite food is funnel cake. So, right there, this is not a high class person we're dealing with. It's not asparagus or something. So I'm a low class person. I'm not offended by vulgar language. But I also thought it's perfect for this movie. This fits this movie exactly. The message that they're giving is conversion. If you can't be honest about what comes before the conversion, what kind of like, oh, he was a really bad person before conversion. He never swore, but he was a really bad person. That seems to me like
Imagine they're making the movie. Oh, darn heck. You know, it's like,
yeah, like he only talks like Philip Rivers. Dadgummit. Like, man, that guy's out of control. I don't know. I was not offended by that in the least, but I knew a lot of people were like, well, I like the movie, but the language. And I feel like, what kind of movies are you watching, first of all? Are you only watching
because
Hallmark movies?
they have to be polished up movies. If it's not on Angel Vid, we can't watch. I'm just kidding. No. But
I think there's a certain kind of vulgarity, which is like nudity and sexualized stuff, that is completely different from just the verbal vulgarity that is part of how people actually talk. Emily,
if you're portraying real life, I would say, yeah, you do need some of those things.
I think it is problematic to watch sexually prurient stuff, but Emily, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No, I was going to say I'm more offended by bad script writing and production than I am by vulgar language.
And there's a lot of that too, especially when we try to make really, I don't know, wholesome movies. There's really good, well-written, wholesome movies, but it's almost like the people who are making them, sometimes it's like they went out of their way to make it completely unrelatable.
Yep.
Like why did you have to go out of your way to make it?
Well, I heard the problem with especially more Christian movies and things like that is they put the message ahead of the art itself. So they're more focused on giving a message rather than actually making good art.
Yeah, and then it just backfires.
Yep. And then nobody wants to sit in those seats and watch the movie. Or it's one of those movies that you sit your youth group in front of and you're just like, I'm so done with this. I don't want to watch this.
Well, we want, pretty much the human race became a human race sitting around the campfire telling stories. I mean, well, maybe not the campfire because we didn't get fire for a while. It took us a while to develop the fire thing, but like sitting around telling stories is the most human that we just tell me a good story. That's like, we're desperate for that. Just tell me a good story. And so much so that if somebody starts a good story, like if you're in the car and you pull up in the driveway, but they're halfway through a really good story, you'll sit in the driveway because there's something in us that's like, I cannot let go of this good story. But if your main preoccupation is, I'm going to make this a wholesome story, that might be a good story. That might not be a good story. It's not enough just to be wholesome. You got to be good. And sometimes a really good story, not wholesome at all. And the story of Father Stu had a lot of, the dude had a lot of, what would we say? He was a mixed bag. And I don't mind that at all. It didn't bother me at all. But Lena, some people just really don't like to hear certain words. I'm going to say the words. We're on the internet. I can say them.
No, I don't think
Here's
it's
the
that.
words that people don't like to hear. Dadgummit.
She's not a Puritan, but I think it was just
She's a Puritan. She is.
She was just getting a little shocked of how much vulgarity.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and then did you guys watch the Padre Pio movie with Shia LaBeouf? I had to stop that halfway through because there was a lot. I was shocked how much nudity was in that thing. I was
Why
like,
do that? Why do that in the
Wow.
Padre Pio movie? Really?
It was weird. It was
He would have hated that.
yeah, he probably would.
Well, he heard the confessions. We can pretend to ourselves that we've outgrown the fact that this would lead us into any kind of sin. You're just pretending. That's just pretense. Stop it. Like, this is not good for you. There's a reason why modesty is a virtue. And
Wait, but I have a question about that then.
Yeah.
So what about the art that you see in the Vatican, Leonardo da Vinci with like people that are unclothed there? Is that art? Is that beautiful? Or is that, put that away, they're immodest?
I really didn't know there was going to be hard questions.
Well, it's the difference. I would say the difference is what's the purpose of it? Is it
I
trying?
don't know entirely if that's true. What's the purpose of it? I mean, a naked lady's a naked lady. A guy with like King David.
That has been, I think, the conversation. I think even within the Vatican walls of, is this too vulgar to have portraits of naked people or not? And I think there's been different times within the church where they've actually gone back and covered them up, and then other times it was like, no, this is, why did you ruin this masterpiece? Go ahead and paint it back to where it was.
Right.
So it's a constant conversation. Say, yes, it's still a naked lady, but at the same time, if you're looking at these paintings of the Vatican, you're like, the intended purpose is not necessarily for that. It's to tell.
That's why they make you go through the on your
story.
way out. You have to go through the
Raphael rooms.
no, the Raphael.
The Raphael rooms are beautiful.
Magnificent.
I am
No, I was
disgusted by
thinking
the
of
graffiti.
the
by the
Sistine
way,
Chapel. They make you go through the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah.
So you could be like, oh well, I'm going to hell. There it is. That's right there. I'm going to hell. Straighten you out before you head back out onto the street. To me, Bernini is that's my favorite sculptor, and I think Apollo and Daphne, I think it is. To me, it's one of the most magnificent things I've ever seen. But didn't he also did Saint Therese in Ecstasy, and they're on the opposite sides of town in Rome, and like that Apollo and Daphne, where the story is Apollo is going to rape her, and in order to avoid being raped,
you can't say that on the internet now. By the way,
oh, you can't.
You got to say graped.
Oh, she turns into a tree. That is, and so it's the buttons that pushes in your mind are completely different than the pornographic buttons. What you're seeing is the tragedy of sexual abuse, how it turns a person into this thing that's covered in bark, and will spend the rest of its life defending it. So that's what is happening to Daphne. I think it's Daphne. So it feels like it pushes an entirely different set of buttons. But so that, like, where there's nudity in that one, then you go to Teresa in Ecstasy, and people look at that and go, that actually looks very sexual. This is Teresa praying, and people are like, that's weirdly sexual. So I think high art can mix these things in a way that the lower arts can't do. I suppose that is entirely possible on film. I do think film is a different kind of medium, and I think most of the people who tell themselves that's what they're doing are just lying to themselves. Look, you're not Bernini. You cannot pull this off. And I think, especially, okay, say you're a young man watching a movie where female nudity comes in, and so it's a very serious, important artistic movie. There's a point at which female nudity actually takes you out of the movie and puts you into a different world. And when the filmmakers don't get that about their own audience, I feel like, well, you're not a good artist then. You don't understand what you're doing.
Do you know the thing with Alfred Hitchcock and him not showing two specific kinds of scenes in his movies? He said that he never portrayed any form of sexual acts, or I think even kissing, and the other one is praying. Because they're very intimate acts that can't really.
He has one of the funniest sexual images in the history of movies, though.
What's that?
I don't know if I should say this in front of you, Emily, but at the end of North by Northwest, just watch the last minute of North by Northwest. It is hilarious what he does, because Cary Grant and Eve St. Marie, they do finally kiss, and I think they get married. I'm not sure how it ends, if it's like they're married or they agree to get married. It's that last, how a movie crescendos up to marriage. That's what a good piece of art does. It ends with the marriage. So that's how it's very chaste. It's not like you're not seeing anything weird. It's Cary Grant and these two gorgeous people, right? They're in love, and now they have decided to marry, okay? And they're on a train. That's it. That's the end of the movie. Except for like 5 seconds, we go outside the train goes into a tunnel. That's what we see. Clearly, Hitchcock knows exactly what he is doing. It's a joke. He ends the movie with a marriage joke.
I didn't catch it when you first said it. Like, now I see.
Yeah, he's clearly making a joke. But to me, it's such a highbrow joke, like a highbrow way of doing a very lowbrow thing, that it's art. That's very clever.
But I think your comment of the high arts can portray something that the low arts can't, and I think Alfred Hitchcock knew that.
Yeah.
So he might have just had some fun with it at the last scene.
Yeah. Yeah, and which is, I mean, that in Christian art, joking and merriment around sexuality is a very good tradition. We have that tradition. You go back to Chaucer, or you in the Christian art of Europe tends to be kind of joking about sexuality, tends to be kind of having fun about it. Like, do you get it? Do you see this? Do you, you know? And I think that's one way to do it without making it prurient, but making it almost relieving it of its prurience.
Yeah. We're going to have to cut out a little bit early because...
We have to cut out early?
Yeah, we do have to cut a little bit early out because there's some technical issues that we have to fix before Catholic Answers Live officially starts. And you don't want to miss those 2 awesome hours with Tim Staples and Tom Nash.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to do something with the listeners, though. You guys going to have to give me 30 seconds. Can I have 30 seconds to do something with listeners? Our good friend Emily is about to get married. I think she's 2 weeks away from her marriage. Would you help me with we'll pray a Hail Mary for she and her spouse. And then at the end of that, we're not even saying goodbye. We're just cutting out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death.
Amen.
Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Peace.
Thank you.
God bless you.